I choose to improvise because it's really the way I feel most comfortable expressing myself as an artist, rather than, say, interpreting compositions, which I love to do. I find that being in the moment of the music and the music and dance happening, to be there at that moment creating it, is very satisfactory. And I like to be surprised.
I'm very happy and really happy to play with Mary in front of people, especially in front of the musicians, these young musicians, so they see that it's not a stupid thing to get interested in different performative areas, because there's just more work involved, and they should become more aggressive about that you should get better at working with dancers, actors, because there's just a broader field then. There's too little going on in all the fields right now. It's important to be very resourceful. I think all of their parents would agree with me. When I teach a workshop, I'm going to gather dancers, sometimes musicians, together to investigate the different aspects that take place when you improvise. And again, creativity is a big issue in that. I'm connected into different neuron scientists who I'm interested in studying with, who give me information and really good exploration in how it is the brain works, and together with the mind and the body. This works equally as well with musicians as dancers, because there's a kind of difference between your reflexology, your making a choice by your feelings, or making a choice because of an intuitive situation, and what your intuition demands.
If you're talking about learning to play jazz or blues, or in Indian music there's lots of improvising, and Japanese music there's lots of improvising, African music, then there are at least some rules. It gets more complicated if you're teaching modern improvised music, like free improvised music. But I think they really all come from the same roots. I mean, you have to learn to play your instrument, you have to learn to explore your instrument. So in many ways it's the same. To me, the way I look at it is the way I look at maybe classical music. Like in the time of Mozart, the rules were maybe more limited, although made very beautiful music. And now the rules are broader because we're influenced by so many different kinds of music. So in many ways it's the same, but in modern times we have a bigger range.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I have a band that uses a lot of the kind of conduction things that I'm working with today with the students I'm working with. And that sort of looks like a traditional big band, but sometimes I do things with groups of people that are just electronics, like turntables and samplers. And I've also worked with whole orchestras working and improvising. Sometimes the most interesting people are the people who have a classical background, and they're very good at their instruments, but they've never improvised. So they don't have assumptions about improvising. They don't assume that it's a jazz language or a rock language. And that can be really great, really fun. Improvisation to me is, and lots of people have said this, but it's really no different than composition. I mean, when I'm thinking about improvising, I'm taking ideas and working with them. If I'm composing, if I'm using pencil and paper, it's just the same thing, it's just a slower process. Thing that's interesting about working with improvisers is that you create things that couldn't happen otherwise, that wouldn't happen otherwise. Thing that's interesting about pencil and paper is that you can make sure that what you want to happen happens. So there's this side which is completely composed, and this side which is completely improvised, and there's everything in between, and they're all wonderful.
I'm Marco, and I play computer in adiabatic invariance duo. Yeah, and Luca play percussion. So, um, yes, for me, and I think I can talk even for Luca. Improvisation is a path, is a way to understand the sense of make some kind of music today.
I think that this festival is the second time we are here, so we are very happy to be here again. But is something that is lacking in Italy. This kind of situation in which musician and public can meet outside, just having a cigarette and having a beer and relaxing and discussing and presenting each other, is something that is really missing in Italy. This kind of feelings and this kind of situation that make you really feeling at home, because your home is the music, and here we are for making our music, and the people that come want to enter your house and and feel it comfortable, and we work to craft our music to be comfortable for both of us and for the public.
I experienced all these wonderful musicians from Poland, and I'm very impressed with how progressive the improvisation scene here is, and also the technique that these players have. Not necessarily an instrumental technique, but the technique of discipline and listening and finding their own style within their groups. I've only heard the groups, so I'm just now hearing them as individual players, how they interact with it. I think that's not a bad setup for it, having them being tossed into groups that they don't expect. I think that's a good thing to do. You really find out who can sink or swim, as it is.
Jeśli chodzi o samą improwizację, to wydaje mi się, że jest to bardzo naturalna kontynuacja tego, czego szukam w sztuce, ponieważ improwizacja jest czymś, co jest tylko i wyłącznie na chwilę i nie zostaje z tego nic. I to jest coś, co chciałam zawsze wyrazić, i nagle się okazało, że jest takie miejsce i taki sposób, żeby się realizować.
Hallo?